So, there was a new Resident Evil 4 trailer that came out from the State of Play a few days ago, and they showed a few things that I was really glad to see. The first few shots show how much more serious the atmosphere is. Corridors and inside areas in general are darker, and exploration seems more akin to RE2. The original game had significantly more brown hues and was never dark like how it looks from the trailer. Another example of this would be the castle area. Just look at these two screenshots of the part of the game, and you can just see how much more darker it is. The original game was beloved for many reasons altogether, but one of the most iconic reasons is because of the pure campiness and over-the-top gameplay. This atmosphere was not directly intended by the developers and is somewhat accidental. I personally love that the new developers are trying to capture the atmosphere despite it being one of the most factors that wholly defined the original game. I feel like attempting to recreate the original game's atmosphere would be too difficult and something unique that cannot be recreated. I personally believe that remaking old games should always be approached to give a new and different experience, or modernizing it to be superior to the original game. The latter is often difficult, and only the game that's ever done this is RE1. I think attempting to remake Resident Evil 4, one of the best games ever made, and remaking it to be a superior version of itself is borderline impossible. Remaking RE4 to have a different tone would help recreate a classic experience for old fans and new fans. One of the most iconic parts of the original game was the extremely cheesy dialogue, often with its over-the-top delivery. It's heavily part of the game what makes it enduring and charming, and I'm glad to say that RE4 seems like they kept this cheesy dialogue, but obviously toned down because of how the game takes itself seriously. Supposedly, the bingo line that's really popular with the fans of the game are still there. If you know what I'm referring to, here's a clip of it.
Subtler. Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Lines like these make the game so much more enjoyable and memorable, and it seems like RE4 the remake has tried to keep that. When you listen to the trailer, you can hear Salazar and Luis bantering with Leon. Here, take a listen.
I'm taking delivery of preparing some entertainment for you. The entertainment.
I'm really glad that they kept these kinds of lines from the original game towards RE4 remake, because I feel like it's one of the most important parts of what RE4 I guess, in a sense, because people see RE4 as one of the most important video games in history, and that's fair, but there are little parts of it that add up to make it that charming game that everyone loves. Another positive in the trailer is that it confirmed that they didn't cut the island part out, which is I'm really glad, because I feel like the length of the game, of the original game RE4 is perfect, and the RE remix has had one massive flaw, is that they always got too much content, and this time it seems like they avoided that, so I'm really glad. Luis seems like he got a bigger role in the game. Luis in the original game was largely a forgettable character in general. He had a few funny cutscenes, and that's really it for me, I felt like. But it seems like that the developers added him to the new parts of the game where he wasn't there originally. An example of this would be in the trailer. You can see here that he's in the El Gigante fight with Leon. And so I'm really glad that he's getting a bigger part, because I feel like it would let him develop his character and make him at least memorable to me. The crossword boss fight seems like it's been changed to a one-on-one knife fight, which I personally think is a great change. I simply think it'll make the boss fight more exciting, as from the original game, you could simply cheese it. You can straight up, I think, kill him in 8 knife slices, if I remember correctly. I mean, just take a look at this clip. It seems like the boss fight is centered around the parry mechanic, which is I feel like the best way to improve the fight as a boss fight, and it'll make it way more memorable in general, and so I'm pretty excited about that. To expand on the parry system, I personally think that the original RE4 has a perfect combat loop that doesn't need to be touched. It's extremely satisfying to drop kicking zombies or suplexing them when they are stunned, and I'm really glad they kept this. You can see here in the trailer they kept it. RE4 Remake seems like they didn't touch the combat loop at all and kept it the same. And they modernized it though by adding a parry mechanic system like we've already talked about. And I feel like this is a really genius idea, as I feel like it branches out the combat system without ever changing the core foundation of it, of what made it really fun. I was really scared of how Capcom would approach the RE4 remake, and it seems like they have chosen the right approach. And so, I can't wait to replay one of the best games ever made.